Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Greater Good. Today, I've got an extraordinary man on board to be our guest. But before we start with him, let me just give you a quick overview about why do we have this show? I mean, a couple of years ago, my foundation decided that we needed to get some branding, and so they anointed me to do a podcast, which uh, we were just talking about youth and young people, and I received the ultimate compliment the other day. Someone called me a millennial, and so. But basically, this show is certainly not about me or necessarily our foundation, but it's more about people in the community that do things above and beyond just writing a nice big check, which of course we all love the checks, and my guest today is very familiar with that. But it's just more about recognizing people in our community that put boots on the ground and get the work done. And so today I've got Seth Parzen, sorry. He's a
Thank you.
president and CEO of the Burnham Center for Community Advancement, and he's just kind of an amazing guy. And before we even talk about the Burnham Center for Community Advancement, I just want to say hi, Tad. It's great to see you again.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me. I'm delighted for us to get to know each other better, even if it's in a very public way. The conversations we've had to date have been really nice, and I'm looking forward to today.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks so much. So I read your bio, and I don't normally do that. Sarah makes me do that from time to time because she thinks I need to be more informed. But I'm kind of a roll from the hip kind of a interviewer. So let's kind of talk about who you are, how you got to be where you are today.
Well, gosh, uh, let's see how much time we got. The short
Three
version,
hours.
yeah, the short version is I'm 61 years old and spent the early part of my childhood in on the south side of Chicago,
Mm,
and really saw got an interesting window even as a child into a very diverse multicultural life where people of all stratas are living together. And as you recall, I think you're not too far off from my vintage. The That was a very intense time in our country,
mhm.
and there between the Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement and the economic boom that was going on then, it was quite an amazing time, and the South Side of Chicago was a hotbed of all that, particularly with the University of Chicago there. So I I don't know, something about that time just thrilled me
Mhm.
and set some direction for me without me knowing it. We moved out here to California in 1971, and it was so very different that I got a sense of, okay, life's not the same everywhere, and it's not the same for everyone,
Mhm.
and not that it has to be the same for everybody, but it certainly could be better for some.
Mhm.
And what a better way to spend a career. Uh, I just can't imagine a better way to spend my professional life, my adult life,
Mhm.
than when I go to work today. I feel like I'm at least trying, maybe not always succeeding, but trying to elevate the quality of life in our region. So that's kind of the backstory. I went to law school to do this work, not to be a lawyer all my life. Did spend
Mhm.
15 years in private practice, partner in a local law firm, and
Right.
then went into public service and was general counsel at San Diego Unified School District. And from there, a lot of the work we were doing got some recognition around the country. So I started consulting with other school districts, in particular Los Angeles, doing some reform work there. Then went to work for the mayor of Los Angeles, building something called the Partnership for Los Angeles Schools, which I'm very proud of that work
Mm.
because if you looked at, I'm not sure this data is fresh, but at one point a few years ago, if you looked at that set of schools as if they were a school district, they would have been the most improved school district in the state.
No kidding.
So I'm very proud of that, and worked around the country in large scale community initiatives. Worked for as executive vice president for what is now Price Philanthropies. It was known as Price
Right.
Charities then, with the
Hmm.
Price family from Price Club. I learned a ton there. So in each one of these stops, I've learned more and more and more from some brilliant people, wonderful leaders, and hopefully have built my skill set over time, that have added value to wherever I'm serving at the moment, which, lucky for me, is currently with alongside Malin Burnham, the Lion of San Diego.
Right.
And you know, at 61, you never stop needing mentors, and your mentors just get older. So Malin is 94, and still going strong, and I learn from him every day. And it's a beautiful partnership, and we've formed the Burnham Center for Community Advancement, which is a think and do tank, where
Mhm.
good ideas come to happen. And
Yep.
our guiding principle, our North Star, is just helping, and that's an important word. We don't do it, we just try to help make the San Diego Tijuana binational region a better place to live, work, and play for everyone.
Yeah. We had so much fun. Malin was on our show, about a month ago, Sarah? And he's such a delightful man. And what a, what a legacy. Like you said, he's still very vibrant and with us today, intellectually, spiritually, and all of the right areas. But yeah, he was so much fun on the show. You wouldn't expect that sort of exuberance from a 94-year-old young person like he is. But
Right, right. It's really a treat. We just had an event in conjunction with Cushman Wakefield to celebrate not his retirement from formal business world, but his commencement, like a pivot. Because
mhm,
Malin, he'll never retire fully. It's just on to the next thing, which is the Burnham Center. Lucky for me,
right.
and I think the community. And I said, he and I were interviewed for the San Diego Business Journal. I think it came out on Monday. That this really is the professional highlight of my career, and
Wow.
among the personal highlights, just to be his partner in
Mm.
doing the work that he and I both set out to do. It's just tremendous. I will tell you, Jeff, I did not, maybe I didn't pay enough attention to the email, but I didn't know we were going to be video too today. I would have shaved. So I apologize to your audience
Oh,
for
you look
for
you look you
for,
look
for
fine.
being somewhat unkempt. You've got my physical therapy chart in the background. You got all kinds of stuff there. So you're seeing the real me, everybody.
That's
You,
ex that's
what
exactly what this is all about,
what
it
you
can
see
all
is
come
what you
as
get. Yeah, I
yeah.
got some back issues, so I've got my little chart of exercises back there.
Did you injure it in a sport or
What do they say about cars? It's not how old your car is, it's the miles. A lot of miles on this body. You got sports, between sports and little accidents here and there. And injuries over time. Yeah, it's just taking its toll.
well, best of luck on full
Thanks.
recovery on that.
Thanks. Yeah, it's fine.
Sarah's
It'll
Sarah's husband is here, Brett Davis, and he's like an expert uh, all around in terms of physical wellness and whatnot. I think
mm,
he's Mr. Universe, like I don't know, half a dozen times.
wow.
I
Wow.
don't know how many times. It just so whenever I come in here, I'm in awe at
Not just Mr. USA, not just Mr. World, but Mr. Universe.
that's
That
that
is
that's
something.
that's the story that's been told around here. We'll have to
All
verify it.
right.
But I'm
Well, that's
pretty
something.
sure it's true. If you saw him in person, you'd know. But yeah, it's really great. No, don't worry about looking yourself. I mean, especially in today's environment, people are. I don't know about you, but when I grew up in San Diego originally, my first profession, I was a special agent with the Treasury Department after I graduated law school, and it was coat and ties everywhere, all day,
Yeah,
every day.
I remember
Even
that.
even being in law enforcement, it wasn't until later in my law enforcement career that things started to ease up a little bit in terms of how we looked. Or but certainly, if I was undercover, then it was different. But
Right, right.
yeah,
Well, thank you for your service. I meant to say that to you before we got on the air, but now here we are. So thank you now. You know, our country is not perfect, but it is. There's an old Churchill quote: "Democracy is the least bad form of government." They're all bad. In other words, there's not really a perfect one, but democracy is the best one of all. The and it functions as well as it does because of the service of people like you. So thank you very much for
likewise.
what you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, we
Yeah,
try.
I'm an Army vet as well during the mid
Right,
and late 60s, and, like you were talking about the dissension and acrimony that was so prevalent in the country, in particular, when I mustered out of the Army in 1968, uh,
right.
it was pretty acrimonious everywhere. Not
Yeah.
not so much not unlike where we are today. I mean, today's
Whew.
pretty, pretty
Yeah,
dramatic in so many ways, not
yeah,
the least of which is, with law enforcement and the perception of, the work that they do versus I mean, the real work that they do, the 99% of the time, the great work that they do, but that 1% has really created, a riff, which was one
yeah.
of the reasons why myself and, the former chief at the Harbor Police Port of San Diego Harbor Police, Mark Steenbrook, and I, why we started the foundation to begin with, is we wanted to create that perception, that objective viewpoint of what the Port of San Diego Harbor Police actually does, just create
Mhm.
awareness. And then, of course, we jumped into some really great arenas as far as I'm concerned, our
Yeah.
adoption of Perkins K-8 school, which is, great success, and
A
we're
great success. Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely.
And then our
Yeah.
human trafficking awareness, which is another huge, huge initiative. In fact, I'm going to shout out on May 10th, our foundation's doing a forum in collaboration with District Attorney Summer Steffen, the Tourism Authority, Victim Survivor, and myself. It'll be a live stream. It's actually being hosted by Qualcomm for us at their headquarters, so it's going to be kind of a big production, not just a Zoom call with a bunch of people on it. It's like the real deal. I mean, when they started telling us how they're going to operate this production, I thought, wow, we're in the big league now. So we're looking forward to that. So May 10th, and we'll make sure you get invited, Tad, and all you
Yeah.
folks. It'll be in the evening from 5:30 to 6:30,
Great.
and we're going to be talking about a hard topic, which is human trafficking, and
Yeah.
we want to make it meaningful and hopefully create some passion in people where they choose to get involved. And I'm not saying try and intercede in a human trafficking incident. I'm
Mhm.
talking
Mhm.
about if you see something, you say something, and who do you say it
Yes.
to, and what do you look for in order to determine if you do want to say something. And so it's going to be a show and tell, hopefully a big event. I'm sure we'll have 500-600 people viewing that event on May 10th.
Well, you can count me in because, yeah, number one, your organization has done a lot of wonderful work over the years, and I'm very grateful for it, and our community is better for it. But this human trafficking thing and the way our region is situated in it and our prominence in it, both from a not just a cross-border issue, but a local issue, is really, gosh, I mean, there's not a word to describe the horror of it,
Mhm.
and and we may never solve it 100%, but we sure could solve it 50% or 80% or 90% if we get it together. And there's also that old adage about the starfish. That what's it called? The allegory of the starfish, where somebody's on the beach and they see a little girl who's all kinds of starfish have washed up on shore or beached,
Yeah.
and this little girl is one at a time to carry them back into the sea and sending them
Mhm.
off on their way and
Right.
saving their lives, change it. And an adult comes up to, we adults, we're so beaten down sometimes that we forget to be hopeful and do the right thing in the right moment.
Right.
And it says, oh, well, you'll never change this. You can't change the world like this. And the response is, yeah, but for each one of these starfish, I'm changing their entire world.
Exactly.
I'm not telling that story exactly right. There's some much more um, uh, uh, more clever little quip at the end that talks about you're not going to change the world, but you're not going to change the whole world, but you're going to change the whole world for this starfish, each one that you
Yeah.
help. So, gosh, if we can interrupt that cycle for, whether it's 10 or 100 or 1,000 young people that are, or not necessarily super young, but of any age being trafficked, then we've done something that needs to be done.
Yeah, that's really an important message. I mean, a couple of things you mentioned there strike home. I mean, one of the misconceptions about human trafficking is that there's a lot of people coming in from foreign countries that are trafficked in the United States, and that's just
Right,
statistically not accurate. Most of the trafficking victims come from the local community that
right,
they are
right.
engaged in. I mean,
Yeah,
statistically in San Diego County, I'm not sure you know this, but uh, almost every single high school in San Diego County, 90+% of all those high schools have had human trafficking incidents and cases on those schools or in those schools. So that means children from Rancho Santa Fe, La Jolla, National
right.
City, Santee, Chula Vista National City, all of those cities throughout the county have human trafficking occurring.
Yeah,
And statistically, it used to be that the average age of mostly women are trafficked was 16. Well, because of the pandemic and the opportunities that has created, it's down to 14 years old. So
that's
your
horrible.
your daughter 5 years ago
Yeah,
could have easily been a target, and you live in La Jolla,
right,
which is
right, right.
definitely special.
And I think, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think that 90% number is low.
Yeah. Well, we used to use 100%, but then Summer pointed out that there was one high school that
Well,
hasn't
there
had,
you go. There you
and
go. And
and
there was one out of
and
100, so there's 99. Yeah, and
exactly.
Summer's fantastic. She and I are law school classmates.
You told me that.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so we've known each other for, gosh, let's see, we graduated in 1986, a long time. And I admired her then, and I admire her now. And it's interesting how our career paths have gone to bring us back together around doing this kind of work. So
Yeah. Right.
that's exciting to be reunited with her um, in this particular work and other work around the region. One of the reasons, Malin may have told you when he was a guest, that we started the Burnham Center for Community Advancement uh, is because of the degradation of our community fabric all across America.
Mhm.
You've got the internet, you've got social media, you've got uh, alternative facts and things like that are all screwing us up, frankly. So one of the things we would like to do at the Burnham Center that we've set out to do is through the work that we're engaging in through initiatives, whether it's the World Design Capital or working on housing affordability or the work or workforce development or human trafficking or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Those are mechanisms to rebuild community fabric and bring people from all parts of the region, from all backgrounds, with all persuasions, of all shapes, sizes, and colors, to focus on community and what we can do together as opposed to what drives us apart.
Yeah, you just brought up a huge topic that I was fortunate enough to go to one of your briefings on, and the World Design Capital
Capital, right?
program. Is I had never heard of that program before, you invited me over to your brand new, unbelievably cool offices.
It's fun.
Yeah, I don't know for people that are listening. And by the way, we have about 50. Well, Brad always says it's more, but he's prone to hyperbole. So about 50,000 people is the average number of people that are out there trying to listen to what you and I are talking about.
Nice.
But
Well, hi
yeah,
everybody.
yeah, hello, and this is Tad Parzen, who's just a cool dude. So your new offices are pretty unbelievably cool at 1100 Market Street, downtown
Mhm.
San Diego, and that's a
Yeah.
partnership with UCSD Extension. Is that right?
Right. So, yeah. So UC San Diego owns the building
Hmm.
and invited us in as kind of the. It was always intended as as I understand the evolution of that building, as not just extending the campus, but really creating a space for the kind of thing that we do,
Hmm.
and with multiple partners from multiple sectors and things like that. And UCSD, knowing what Malin and I were up to, asked if we would bring the Burnham Center for Community Advancement. We were conceiving it then. It's in its second iteration. The first iteration uh, was was good to a point, and we
Hmm.
shut it down a few years ago to reconceive it as now the Center for Community Advancement. Our friends at UCSD were aware of what we were talking about and said, "Hey, why don't come on down and be the activator of the building?" So
Hmm.
that kind of community hub where where cross sector collaborations and something we call civic collaboratory
Hmm.
for innovation around social and community and regional outcomes can be incubated and accelerated and catalyzed out. And World Design Capital is one of them. Frankly, you and I are in the same boat. I had never heard of World Design Capital either until about a year and a half ago, when some
Yeah.
folks from the design community, we hadn't even moved into the building yet. We had
Right.
formed the center, but really the center was just Malin and me sitting in the office, uh, dreaming up things and trying to get them done. Building. I mean, you've known Malin for a long time, I think, and you've seen over the years that really the way he works is all about building teams to accomplish something for the region. I
Yeah.
mean, when he talks about Santa, he may have talked about it when you had him as a guest. He talks about he's never accomplished anything by himself, and every
Right.
person on that team is just as important as the. He uses the sailing analogy because that's what he originally became famous for,
Yeah.
as the youngest sailing world champion in the star class ever. He
Yeah.
still is the youngest.
Is he?
And
Yeah.
yeah, and actually he and some friends won a regatta of of I think seniors maybe isn't the word they used, a master's class,
Yeah.
and they won it. So now he's both the youngest and the oldest.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's great.
Bookends. I love it.
It's great.
Yeah, well, when you use the word design in in a world design capital, I think most people think, oh, well, they're out, designing buildings or whatever else, but it's nothing at all like that. Maybe you could just quickly tell us, what it is
Sure.
that program is about and how incredibly um, what fortunate San Diego and Tijuana were to be awarded this
Well,
bestow this honor.
well, I haven't disagreed with you yet, but going to now,
Oh
because
boy, here it
it's an
comes.
example. No, that's just an example of making your own luck, right? So it's so fortunate. We're fortunate to have the opportunity. It was a lot of hard work to
Yeah,
get it, right?
right.
So I know that's what you meant. I know
The
that's
harder
what you
you
meant.
work, the luckier you get. Okay.
Indeed. So I'm teasing you. That's all. The So when we talk about, well, let me back up and just give a little history about World Design Capital to the best I can, not being a professional designer myself. The For about 14, 15 years now, the World Design Organization, which is an international association, kind of think of the World Health Organization or the International Olympic Committee or something like that. Not quite on that scale, but those are good examples of the kind of organization it is.
Mm-hmm.
Has been they created an event, a biannual event, right? Every 2 years, let's just say it that way, whereby a city in the world is showcased as an amazing example of how human-centered design enhances the region.
Mm-hmm.
And typically over the years, to my understanding, and again, I'm a relative newcomer too, even though I'm now part of the team that helped bring it here, and very proudly so. And it was a wonderful partnership with, again, UCSD, the Design Forward Alliance, and the city of San Diego and city of Tijuana. Everybody, it was an amazing piece of teamwork, I gotta say. So every 2 years, some city in the world gets designated World Design Capital to show their how innovative and impactful their approach to human-centered design is. And the world comes, or particularly the design community, but also policymakers who might want to use a design process to think about how they approach public policy or finance or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just buildings, it's not just products,
Mm-hmm.
it's how things work.
Right.
Designers, like all of us, I'm sure lawyers see through things through a lawyer lens, designers see through things through a design lens. And to their point, they are right that pretty much in everything, all the products that your headphones, my earbuds, the hat I'm wearing, the stand-up desk I'm at right now, even to the little mat I have that helps my back, it's designed to keep you stable and using your core. All those things, everything around us, including how our businesses work, how this podcast works, there's a design element in all of it, and that's absolutely true. And there's a particular approach to design called human-centered design. Well, so places like Seoul, Korea, Cape Town, South Africa, Mexico City, Lille Metropole, Valencia is this year. I know I'm missing more than one, but so it's happened 7 times before. We will now be, I believe, the 8th or 9th,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll be in 2024. And the interesting part about our bid, and by the way, the other finalists, so there were as I understand it, dozens of applicants from all over the world, and in the end, it came down to us and Moscow, Russia.
I love the irony in that.
Right. I know, isn't it great?
It's
And
the best.
the selection was made about 6 months ago. So you can imagine the sigh of relief that the World Design Organization is heaving now, that they didn't pick Moscow, because they would have given the current conditions, they would have had to cancel it.
I'm sure.
But there are two unique attributes about our bid that made it particularly appealing to them. One was we are the first binational application they got. Also the first that was for a region, not a city. And the first that really focused on community, how design and all the things we work and our cultural exchange, the exchange across the border, in spite of all the challenges at the border, we have one of the busiest and most productive border regions, both economically, culturally, numbers of people in the world.
Right.
In spite of all the controversies and no matter what your politics are,
right,
that's how it works. But then we still produce, because we are two countries, two metropolitan areas, and or really more countries if you include the tribal nations that are here
Right.
and were here before that border existed, mind you.
Yeah.
So but we're really one community. So because if you hovered in a blimp over the border, yeah, you'd see the wall and you'd see all that fuss and bother at the border, some of which necessary, some of which probably not. We could certainly be more efficient in it. You'd see a metric. You can't see my hands, so I'm going like this now. The it's wider than the screen. You'd see this broad region, roughly the size of Los Angeles, with roughly the same amount of people
Right.
functioning together, separately but together. I mean, the number of people that cross and the amount of commerce that occurs and cultural exchange is phenomenal in
Yeah.
spite of that border. So that really intrigued them. They actually, when we first pitched it, they thought it was a gimmick. They thought, oh, San Diego needed to bring in Tijuana because they didn't think that, or something like, I don't know what they really were thinking, but that's what they told us, that they thought it was a gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
But then they came here and they saw how we live together, how we work together, how we play together, and how magical it is in spite of the challenges we have. And it's certainly not perfect. And we have our warts just like any community, and it's sometimes even more complicated because of the border situation,
Right.
and the politics around it. So it's by no means perfect, and we have our problems, but how we deal with them together on the ground as people, as neighbors, as
It works.
cross-border collaborators
Mhm.
is unique in the world. And
Yeah.
they thought that was pretty cool. And then you have kind of more traditional, and how all those systems are designed, like the maquiladora industry. I've heard more than once. I can't swear to the data on this, but I'm told by somebody who knows better than me that if you lined up all the semi trucks going back and forth across the border in the maquiladora industry for over the course of a day, a single day, Monday through Friday, you would have 35 miles of trucks.
I
That's
believe
how
it.
much goes back and forth. I've
Yeah.
also heard that we are among the largest employers, if you take it at regionally, in the world of med tech, biotech, health tech jobs in
Yeah.
the world.
People don't know that. Yeah.
Right. And all the things that are either designed on the US side of the border or manufactured. And there's some amazing statistic about how things typically go back and forth 4 or 5 times before they're done.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll
Yeah.
start here, go to
Right.
Tijuana, come back, go back, go back, go back, and different parts of the process are implemented. I had
Right.
a meeting yesterday with the consul general from Mexico, who gave me a little education about how much of the design process actually starts in Tijuana. I
Mm.
was not aware of, because traditionally we look at the maquiladora industry as designed in the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
manufactured in Tijuana or Cali Baja, and then distributed through the ports in the U.S. or the train in the U.S. coming back through either on truck or on train, and getting distributed to the world from there.
Right.
But he was schooling me about, nicely, of course, not in the
Right.
meet. I was a little embarrassed. I didn't know, but he was very gracious about it, about how much of the design process actually happens in Tijuana too. So we're this tremendously integrated community, and then there's this paradox of this border wall, and we do it in spite of that.
Right.
Uh, and you look at things like CBX, the Cross Border Express, where you can check in for your flight on this side of the border, and
Mm-hmm.
then board your plane at Rodriguez Field in Tijuana, and
Yeah.
vice versa. You get off the plane, you go through CBX, you're across the border, you're in your car, and home in half an hour as opposed to an
Yeah.
hour and a half. So it's pretty amazing what we've built here in this region and how blended our cross country cultures are, if you will.
Hmm.
And that really intrigued them. And then to see such design marvels that we've got not on both sides of the border. The Rady Shell would be a great
The latest.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did it. We had a. We were talking before we went on the air about. I'm a jazz fan, and it sounds like you are too. So we put together an all-star binational jazz ensemble led by our very own Gilbert Castellanos,
Hmm.
who I believe is from Guadalajara.
Hmm.
And Gilbert and I know each other from both from the music and other things. And so I called them and said, "Hey, we really want to show the World
Hmm.
Design Organization what this looks like." So he put together a wonderful ensemble, including some amazing musicians that we're lucky to have here in San Diego, including my good friend Rob Thorsen on bass and Gilbert on trumpet, of course, and a number of others. And it
Yeah.
was just phenomenal. So and we threw this big party, binational party with all kinds of visual and performing arts and cross-border food and the World Design Organization representative, of course, was there. The mayor was there, and it really, once they experienced it, it was palpable how real the
Hmm.
heart of our binational community
Right.
is.
Right.
So I think that's why we won. Oh, and we beat an historic world capital
Yeah.
that
Right.
has has a great design history. I mean, look at the Kremlin building itself. It's a design marvel all by itself,
Yeah.
regardless of what actually happens inside.
That's a whole
It,
different deal.
that's a whole different enchilada, shall we say. So I gave you a very long answer to that, but you can tell that's because I'm passionate about it and so thrilled that we were able to pull it off. And now we have a year or a year and a half to really plan this out and do some fantastic things in the community and showcase ourselves to the region, to the world, in terms of being a world class region, binational region, and having things that no one else in the world has.
Right. Well,
Sorry for
certainly.
that long
No,
answer.
not at all.
I got excited.
It's very informative, and like I said, I had no idea that program even existed. But I was enthralled at that first meeting that you had, and went back to my board at my foundation, the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation, and they in turn were very excited. And I have on my board, I've got the CEO of Qualcomm and the president of Qualcomm. I have Solar Turbines,
Mhm.
NASCO, the hotels. So I'm represented by a lot of those industries that do have cross-border and worldwide relationships. And so they were all really excited about that program and encouraged me to reach out to you at the center and let you know that we want to play in your sandbox. So
Great. Well, it's
keep,
not
keep
our sandbox. It's all of our sandbox. But welcome in. Let's build some stuff. That absolutely and that's what we built the Burnham Center to do. This is a good example. As I said, it's a place where good ideas come to happen, and we do it together, always together. You'll we Together is the word we say the most at the Burnham Center, because that's the only way we're going to solve some of these problems, the only way we're going to envision the future of our region together, and build it together, so that it works for everybody, works and works better for everybody. Then we've got a good thing going, but it really could get to the next level. I read there was some article in some publication that we are actually the most fun place to live in the country.
yeah, well
And we
then.
certainly have the best weather, and we have world class pretty much everything here. And if not on par with, let's say, our theater, while it may not be Broadway, it is the next best thing. And there's
Yeah,
no regional theater in the United States better than what we have here.
that's true.
Our music scene is great. Our restaurant scene is great. We of course have natural resources that nobody else has. There you can be be at the beach in the morning and skiing in the afternoon if you
Yeah.
really wanted to,
Yeah.
or mountain biking or in the desert in the same day. There's no place else in the world that you can do it like you can do it here.
Very
And
true.
not to mention the people we have, which this place has got a lot of heart and a lot of love for each other.
Yeah.
And part of the function of the Burnham Center is to put those pieces together and let that flow and create a lot of good for a lot of people.
Well, this has been really informative for me, and hopefully our listeners. And I want to thank you so much for giving us some of your time today. It's great to catch up, and I look forward to spending a lot more time with you. And I just want to also put everyone on notice to make sure that they like this program. And Tad can put it out through his people.
Sure.
We'll send that link to you so you can let your community know about the work that you're doing here.
That's
Uh,
great.
and we look forward to spending a lot more time at the Burnham Center talking about ideas, make stuff
Yeah,
happen, and then
we got stuff to do.
come up with solutions.
Yeah,
So,
it's exciting. Thank you
um,
so much. And everybody can visit us at www.burnhamcenter, BURNHAM Center, all one word, .org. And we'd like to see you. There's a comment section. You can see some of the things we're up to initially, including all about this World Design Capital.
yeah, well, we've been posting on our tagline throughout this show all about you and your web link and your physical
Thank
address
you.
there downtown, and so hopefully, we'll capture people's attention on this.
That's
So,
great. Well, thank you. It's really great to spend some time with you today. And like I say, just if get to know you better and get to talk to some folks out who may be listening. So I'm grateful. Thank you so much.
you bet. Nice seeing you again, Tad.
Likewise.